A quick update. I did a pressure test, and on all cylinders it was 2.5 bars on all of them. Now, the only thing I did wrong in this installation is I used the same piston rings. Those piston rings were used for 22,000 kilometers, and that's my problem. The pressure test doesn't tell you where the leak is, but you can do a leak down test with the same sort of tool. But if you don't have that tool, you could just take the hose from the pressure tester and connect the compressor on the other end. Put the pistons on the firing mark. In my case, it's 1.4 T. That means piston 1 and 4 are on the top dead center. I only had to do the test on the piston number 4 to conclude that all of them are the same. You put pressure in the piston and then you listen in 3 spots. One is the intake, somewhere on behind this. The other spot is the exhaust. If you hear no leak, no air leak on the exhaust and on the intake side, it means your valves are good. Now, the third thing, and that's your worst nightmare, is to hear hissing on the, if you remove the oil cap, if you hear hissing here, it means your piston rings don't seal. So my valve job is, everything that I did is perfect on this engine. The only old parts that I used, dumbass fucker, were the rings. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, it's leaking past the rings and I can hear a lot of hissing here. So, you guessed it, I'll have to, one, find these piston rings, which proves to be a bitch to do, because we live in a society where people just feel the compulsive need of releasing new shit every year, and if it's 5 years old, it's already considered old. This is 30 years old, so I'm gonna have to struggle with that. But once I find these piston rings, I'll have to buy another gasket set, because I can't find just the head gasket or just these, because theoretically I only need the head gasket and the cylinder gasket. I can't find those, so I have to buy another set, which is another £100. That is, if I actually manage to find these fucking cylinder rings. So yeah, that's a bit of a kick in the balls. Obviously it's not gonna take that much time now, because the engine is painted and everything's all nice and blah blah blah, but still it's gonna take some time. That's not the worst thing. I'm willing to put in the work, of course, to get this running, but it's finding these damn piston rings, man. If anybody knows anything, let me know, please. I'm desperate here. The engine code is GJ71A, and from what I know, there's a GJ71B also. Yeah, there's similar motorcycles to this, but they don't use the same engine. Like the bore size is bigger, the cylinder bore size. This one is 44 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look in the service manual to find that out. Let's do that now, actually. Do it in the same clip. So this is the service manual, and on the end, by the way, I forgot to say, spoiler alert, because I'm not there in the YouTube series yet, where the motorcycle is on and running. And another thing, everybody keeps saying you need 3 things for the engine to run, blah blah blah: fuel, air, and compression. Well, I'm living proof that you don't need the fucking compression, because with 2.5 bar instead of 11 to 15, this engine is starting fine and it's running, and it doesn't sound like it's struggling, so I don't know what the fuck, man. Transmission, cylinder head, oil pump clutch. No, it should be here somewhere. Cylinder piston ring, blah blah blah. Cylinder bore. This is 44 millimeters. Limit 44.09. Well, you see, I didn't measure this, so I should fucking measure this. I'm gonna measure it on the other one that I have.